All right, so today we're jumping into something really cool. A high-stakes philosophical duel from way back in 7th century China. I mean, this thing literally defined the future of Zen Buddhism. But here's the kicker. The story doesn't end there. There's a twist. A new voice comes along more than 1,000 years later and offers this incredible bridge between two totally opposing views.
Okay, so here's the plan. We're going to start with the challenge laid down by the fifth patriarch of Zen. Then, we'll get into the two very different paths his disciples proposed. After that, we're going to fast forward through time to hear from this modern voice. And finally, we'll pull it all together, compare all three visions, and wrap up with a powerful metaphor that honestly just makes everything click. You know, at the very heart of this whole story is a massive question. How do you actually achieve enlightenment? Is it something you work towards for years, like this long, hard journey? Or is it more like a switch flips, a sudden realization of a truth that was, right there all along? The answer to that is the key to, well, everything we're about to talk about.
So, our story kicks off in 7th century China. The fifth patriarch of Zen, a guy named Hengren, he's getting old, and he needs to pick his successor. But this isn't about who's been around the longest or who has the best reputation. No. He's looking for the one person, the one monk who truly, deeply gets the nature of reality.
So what does he do? He throws down this challenge to all his monks. And listen, this was not just some friendly poetry competition. We're talking about the entire future of Zen hanging in the balance. The winner gets the robe and the dharma, the symbols of true mastery, and becomes the next patriarch. The stakes? Yeah, they couldn't get any higher.
And out of this, two very different contenders emerge. First, you have Shenshu. He's the head monk, the golden boy, totally respected by everyone. The obvious choice, right? And then you have Huining, an illiterate kitchen worker, basically a nobody from the back of the monastery. This is a guy who spends his days chopping wood and pounding rice. Talk about a contrast.
So here are their answers. These two poems, they're called gathas. They lay out two completely opposite philosophies. Shinshu, the head monk, he sees the body and mind as real things, right? A tree and a mirror that we have to work on constantly, keeping them pure. But Huining's response? Whoa, it is radical. He basically says, hold on, none of that stuff is even real to begin with. The tree, the mirror, the dust, he says it's all an illusion.
So Shinshu's approach is what's called gradual cultivation. It's all about the material world. The idea is pretty straightforward. Our minds get all clouded up by worldly stuff, desires, attachments. He calls it dust. So to get enlightened, you have to be constantly practicing, always wiping that mirror clean. It's a path of hard work and constant effort.
Then you have Huining's path, which is the complete polar opposite. It's called sudden enlightenment. He's coming from this anti-material point of view. And here's the absolute game changer. He says there's nothing to clean. Why? Because the mind is already pure, already empty. Enlightenment isn't a trophy you win, it's a sudden aha moment, a recognition of the true nature you've had all along. You just have to wake up and see it.
So for literally centuries, Zen folks debated this. Was it a slow, gradual climb, or was it a sudden leap? And for a long time, that was the whole conversation. And then, something pretty incredible happened. It turns out the story wasn't over. Not by a long shot.
Okay, fast forward to 2007. That's over 1,300 years after the original showdown. And out of the blue, a new voice, Humdun Yuanshu, just enters the chat, offering a third poem, a third way of looking at everything. I mean, that huge gap in time alone makes this whole new entry so surprising and just fascinating.
And this third poem, it's really interesting. It acts like a bridge. It doesn't throw the other two out. Instead, it says, yeah, okay, the tree and the mirror exist, but they exist within the mind. It acknowledges that, sure, the world of things is born from illusion, but, and this is the key part, it argues that if you understand your true, clear nature, you can rise above the dust without pretending the mirror isn't there in the first place.
All right, so now we have these three really distinct visions on the table. Let's put them side by side and really see how they stack up. So this table really breaks it down nicely. You've got Shenshu, who's all about the material world and diligent practice. It's a great path for beginners, for the masses. Then you have Huineng, who's focused on the anti-material world, on direct insight. That's a perspective more for the masters, the advanced folks. And then Humdun Yuanshu comes in to connect both worlds through spiritual awareness, and that's a path for pretty much anyone who just wants to open up their perception. Now, of course, each of these paths has its potential pitfalls, right?
If you follow Shenshu's method, that journey can be super long and frankly exhausting. But on the other hand, if you misunderstand Huining's whole everything is empty thing, it's easy to fall into a passive, nihilistic mindset. The third path really tries to find that sweet spot, that middle way, a way to find enlightenment while you're still enjoying your life, participating in it fully.
So how in the world do these three ideas, which seem to be competing, actually fit together? Well, there's one last piece to the puzzle, a really powerful metaphor that just brings it all home.
Okay, think of it like this. Shenshu, with all his focus on practice, he built the foundation. He gave us the groundwork, the tools to even start the journey. Then you have Huinu. He's standing at the very peak, showing us the final destination, the breathtaking view from the summit of enlightenment. And our modern voice, Hundu Yuanshu, he's the one who built the ladder, the thing that lets us actually travel between the foundation on the ground and that peak way up high.
And this is really the most crucial point. These aren't competing paths where you have to pick a side. Not at all. They're actually complementary parts of one big spiritual journey. The suggestion is that the best, most complete approach is to integrate all three. You need to build the foundation, you need to see the peak, and you need to use the ladder.
And that really leaves us with a final question for you to think about. Whether you see your life as a practice of constant, gradual improvement, or you're waiting for that sudden moment of clarity, or maybe you're trying to connect your everyday life with a deeper truth. Which part of that path feels most real to you right now? Are you on the foundation, at the peak, or on the ladder?